Welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar, Why Kids Do What They Do, Understanding the Functions of Behavior. I'm Tawana Patron, a board-certified behavior analyst, and more importantly, a parent myself. I got into this field to better understand and support my own two neurodiverse children, and now I help other families do the same. Today, we're going to explore something fundamental in behavior science, the functions of behavior. Once you understand why a behavior is happening, you're better equipped to change it in ways that work for your family, without yelling, punishment, or frustration. Let's start with the basics. What is behavior? Behavior is anything we say or do. It includes talking, crying, running, asking for help, hitting, hugging, anything observable. In ABA, we like to challenge what is and what is not a behavior by using what we call the dead man's test. If a dead man can do it, then it is not a behavior. An example of this is, say that you tell your child to clean their room and they continue to lay down and ignore you. While this is annoying, laying down and doing nothing is not a behavior. Actually, it is a lack of behavior and definitely something a dead man can do. Here's another key concept. All behavior happens for a reason. It's not random. There's always something behind it. As behavior analysts, we identify the function of that behavior. The four functions of behavior. There are four main reasons why people engage in any behavior. We call them the four functions of behavior. Let's remember them by the acronym EATS. So for E, we have escape or avoid. A, we have attention. For T, we have tangible or access to tangible. And for S, we have our sensory automatic. Let's take a closer look at each. For escape or avoidance, this happens when a child wants to get out of or avoid something unpleasant. Here are some examples. Tantruming when asked to clean up. Screaming when doing homework. Or flopping to the floor when told it's time to go to bed in 5 minutes. Here's a parent tip. The goal here is to help them build tolerance and to teach them to request breaks in appropriate ways. Attention. These behaviors seek attention and are designed to get someone to notice them. This can be good or bad. Here are some examples. Yelling after you ignored them calling your name. Or say you're talking to someone else, so they throw a toy for you to reprimand them. Here's another parent tip. If a behavior is attention seeking, we want to teach appropriate ways to ask for attention, such as saying, "Watch me," or tapping your shoulder. Access to tangibles. This is about getting something. Some examples include crying in the grocery store, so you give them candy to stop, or tantruming when you pass the toy store, so you go in. Another parent tip, instead of reacting to the problem behavior, teach a clear way to ask. "Can I have the iPad, please?" would be a great example. Sensory or automatic. Some behaviors feel good or serve an internal purpose all on their own. I do want to note that sensory and automatic serving behaviors are often harder to change because the behavior is internally rewarding. Some examples of some sensory behaviors include rocking, hand flapping, humming, biting, scratching, or picking the skin, and spinning. Here's another parent tip. When you encounter a sensory behavior, ask yourself, is it hurting anyone? If not, we might just need to let it be, or offer alternatives that meet the same sensory needs. Why knowing the function matters. Let's pause for a moment. You can't change behavior effectively if you don't know why it's happening. Many strategies fail because they don't match the function of the behavior. For example, giving a timeout for a child trying to escape only reinforces their goal. When you know the function, you can create a replacement behavior that meets the same need in a better and more appropriate way. Let's review the examples on this slide. So why wouldn't we want to use a timeout for escape or avoid? As we just said, the reason is that the function is to escape or avoid something in the environment, and a timeout will serve that function and increase the use of this behavior in the future. What about using alternatives for attention? If you guessed providing alternatives is giving attention, you are correct. For giving a desired item when the function is access to tangible, this would serve the function of the behavior and increase the likelihood of it occurring again in the future. And lastly, reacting to sensory by ignoring would not help because the behavior in itself is reinforcing, and allowing it will continue it occurring. Let's look at what the appropriate responses would be. Providing alternatives for escape or avoid allow the illusion of control. These alternatives could be given the option of math or reading when the behavior happened once the child was told we need to do homework. In this case, we're still doing homework, so we're still following through. They're not able to escape or avoid it, but they do have that illusion of control. Ignoring attention-seeking behavior is appropriate. I do want to note this is as long as the behavior is not dangerous. But ignoring these behaviors no longer serves the function of these behaviors. Giving alternatives for access to tangible can aid in providing some control, and sometimes a timeout can help as well, as it does not feed into the function. I do want to note that there's not a line going to timeout, because in ABA we will rarely ever recommend a timeout. We like to focus on reinforcement and not punishment. But we also do understand that as parents, we do not always follow ABA so rigidly. And then for sensory automatic, giving a desired item during sensory can help to distract from the behavior. You can also provide alternatives if that sensory behavior does involve an item. What parents can do? You can observe the behavior. What did it look like? You can ask yourself, what happened right before and right after that behavior? Remember our ABCs of behavior, and I would recommend collecting that ABC data. Try to identify the function. What does the child get out of this behavior typically? Teach a simple replacement behavior. Remember, it must serve the same function. For example, asking for a toy instead of tantruming for a toy. Lastly, be consistent and patient. Once you stop reinforcing a behavior, you will see what's called an extinction burst. Do not stop reinforcing dangerous behaviors without help from a professional. The behavior almost always increases before decreasing. It gets worse before it gets better. Also remember, behavior is communication. You are not alone. This work can feel overwhelming, but you're not alone. Our job is to help you decode your child's behavior and give you the tools to build more peaceful routines at home. We can help. We offer private parent coaching, behavior plans, and training for everyday situations, all personalized to your family. If today's webinar resonated with you and you're ready to take the next step, please reach out. Let's talk about your child's unique needs and how we can help. Schedule a free consultation via our website, our socials, or the number provided on this slide. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.